Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, the podcast that takes, those really dense academic papers and makes them surprisingly interesting. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita.
Today, we're going to really get into something you've probably been hearing a lot about lately.
Yeah.
The future of work in the age of AI.
Right.
We're going way beyond those, robots are taking over headlines.
Yeah.
We're going to try to understand how AI could actually change, the nuts and bolts of what we do and how we do it, especially for professionals and knowledge workers.
Right. Like you listening right now.
You got it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to guide us, we've got this awesome article.
Oh, yeah.
From 2025.
Okay.
It's from the Journal of Management Studies.
Uh-huh.
And the title is Advancing Research on the Future of Work in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. AI.
Catchy.
Right. Now, this article is really cool because it brings together a bunch of different expert opinions. Some are super optimistic about AI,
Like AI is going to solve all our problems.
Exactly. It's the solution to everything.
Yeah.
Then there are others who are waving those big red flags.
The robots are coming.
Yeah. Like the robots are going to take our jobs and we're all going to be out on the street, And what's really interesting is that the article doesn't just focus on the technology. It considers these big real-world factors, too.
Oh, like what?
Like shifting demographics. Stuff like aging populations.
That's huge.
It is. And even how the pandemic kind of changed what we all expect from work.
Totally reshaped things.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, I got to ask, Have you given any thought to how AI might change things, in your own work life? Are you feeling that, excitement, apprehension? A little bit of both, maybe?
I think it's totally normal to feel both, right?
It's
It's oh, this could be amazing. But also, wait, what does this mean for me?
Yeah, exactly. And what really strikes me is that the future of work,
Right.
it's not some fixed thing. It's not set in stone. It's something that we're creating, right now.
Right.
Through the choices we make.
Every day. Yeah.
Exactly. Individually and also as a society.
Yeah, collectively.
Right. So let's break down some of those big trends that the article highlights, the ones that are already shaping the future of work.
Okay.
And these aren't just, these abstract, far-off ideas.
Yeah.
They're things that many of us are probably already seeing, right in our own workplaces.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So one of the biggest ones is changing demographics.
Right.
And a lot of those high-income countries, they're dealing with
Declining populations.
declining populations,
Oh,
or at least they're
it's
not growing.
Stagnant.
Yeah, stagnant, exactly.
Yeah.
Coupled with a, rapidly aging workforce.
Oh, right.
And this has, big implications for,
The job market.
the job market. What types of jobs are even going to be out there?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Who's going to be doing the work? And what work even needs to be done?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the whole changing landscape of, organized labor.
Unions. Right.
The article talks about how, unionization rates are going down, especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we see this rise in those,
Low skill.
low-paying service jobs. It's kind of this, two-sided thing happening.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, woven through all of this, right?
Yeah.
This insane speed of technological advancement.
It's like warp speed.
Right. It's crazy. AI, machine learning, digitalization, they're not just some, futuristic concepts anymore.
Right.
It's they're here.
They're happening now.
Yeah, and they're changing everything for professionals and knowledge workers, especially.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like this,
Race to keep up.
yeah, am I learning fast enough? Am I adapting fast enough?
It can be overwhelming.
Totally. And of course, we can't forget about globalization.
Oh, right.
Right.
It's not going away.
It's not going away.
Yeah.
It keeps shaping employment through things like offshoring and outsourcing, which, by the way, are getting more and more intertwined with AI and automation.
Oh, totally. It's all connected.
It's all connected. It's crazy. Think about how stuff that used to be done, in an office,
Yeah.
can now be done remotely, sometimes by,
Robots.
well, not robots, but
AI systems.
AI systems, yeah.
Yeah.
And they could be anywhere in the world, right? So it's really making us rethink, the whole geography of work.
Yeah, where does work even happen anymore?
Yeah. And then, of course, we have to talk about, the big elephant in the room.
Oh, yeah.
COVID-19.
The pandemic.
Remember all that talk about like the Great Resignation?
Oh, yeah.
It felt like the pandemic kind of forced a lot of us to like step back and really reevaluate, yeah. Like how we feel about work, how we think about work, what we want from work.
That's important.
Totally. And your article talks about how COVID sped up some of these trends.
Oh, like what?
Like remote work.
Yeah, huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And that led to some big shifts.
In how we work?
Yeah, how we work, how companies are structured. It's like everything got shaken up.
Totally different landscape now.
It is.
Yeah.
So you've got these massive trends converging. Demographics are shifting. Globalization is still happening. Technology is advancing at warp speed. And our expectations about work are like totally transforming.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
So the big question is, what does all of this mean for us? Like us as individual workers? What kind of future are we looking at?
Right. Like what's coming next?
Yeah, what's the next chapter in this story? And the article dives into some of the potential consequences. And, it's kind of a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
There's good stuff and maybe some not so good stuff. But one thing that really stood out to me is this emphasis on upskilling.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not enough to just like coast on what you already know.
Rest on your laurels.
Yeah, rest on your laurels. It's like as jobs change and evolve, you got to constantly be adapting and learning new skills. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. It's like a constant game of catch up.
Yeah, it is. And the article doesn't actually use the phrase, learn or die. But it definitely kind of hints at it.
Yeah, between the lines.
Yeah, right. Like the message is pretty clear. Continuous learning, it's the new normal.
It's the way of the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about like picking up new technical skills.
Right.
The article also suggests that like those soft skills,
Oh, like what?
adaptability, critical thinking, the ability to like work effectively with AI, those are going to become even more valuable.
Essential even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we even prepare for this constant upskilling, right?
Right. Like what do we do?
Is it, back to school for everybody, online courses, or is it something totally different?
Yeah, good question.
It is. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, because it's going to require like a shift in mindset for a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
Like we have to start seeing lifelong learning as just like a way of life.
Like it's not just a phase, it's ongoing.
Yeah. Constantly looking for those chances to like
Learn and grow.
yeah, learn and grow, expand our knowledge and skill set.
Yeah, I like that.
And speaking of challenges, the article, it doesn't shy away from the potential mental health impacts of all this change.
Right.
Like think about the constant surveillance that some workplaces are doing.
Oh, yeah.
The feeling that you're being like
Managed by algorithms.
And that pressure to always be on, always be connected.
Like you can never truly unplug.
Yeah. It's kind of like Big Brother with algorithms instead of cameras.
Exactly.
Right. And it can be super anxiety inducing.
Right.
Even for professionals who are used to having like a lot of autonomy in their work. I can totally relate to that feeling of being constantly watched and evaluated.
Well, yeah, it's like in the back of your mind all the time.
Yeah. And it seems like the lines between work and personal life, they're just getting blurrier and blurrier.
Yeah.
And not always in a good way.
Right.
Yeah,
it can be tough to find that balance.
It is. And the article suggests that all this blurring can create this sense of
Vulnerability,
precarity, like that feeling that your job isn't as secure as it used to be.
Right, yeah.
More subject to the whims of,
technology. Yeah.
Right. It's not just about robots taking over our jobs. It's about how technology is shifting the whole power dynamic between employers and employees.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like who's really in control here?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the question is, are we all doomed to become like
cogs in a machine?
Cogs in a giant AI-powered machine.
Like just following orders?
Yeah. Is that our fate? I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The article actually emphasizes that we have more agency than we might think.
Okay, that's good news.
Yeah. But to actually use that agency, we need to understand how all this technology is like changing the rules of the game.
Right. We can't just be passive observers.
Exactly. We need to be active participants.
The article also talks about how things like HR decision support systems, and automated scheduling.
Oh, yeah.
They're changing the whole power dynamic between bosses and workers.
Oh, for sure. It's like, who's really making the decisions?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the algorithm? Or is it the human?
Yeah. It raises these big questions about who's really in control.
Right.
When algorithms are making more and more decisions about our work lives. Okay, so maybe it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
But the article also points out some positive shifts in what employees are expecting from work these days. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think back to the pandemic and the whole rise of remote work.
Yeah.
It's like that experience kind of opened a lot of people's eyes to different ways of working.
Yeah, maybe there's a better way to do this whole work thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the article points out that there's this growing desire for more autonomy and flexibility.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, right.
People want more control over their schedules and their work environments.
Totally. That old school 9-to-5 office job, it's not the only option anymore.
Right. And for a lot of people, it's not even the preferred option.
Yeah. And that's actually a good thing.
It is. It gives people more choices.
It does. I'm curious, have you seen a shift in how people think about work-life balance?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a buzzword anymore. It's like a core value for a lot of people, especially the younger generations.
Totally.
Yeah, they're not willing to sacrifice their personal lives for their careers in the same way that maybe previous generations were.
It's like work-life balance isn't just a perk anymore.
Right.
It's like an expectation.
It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. People are realizing that work, it's not the only thing that matters.
Right. There's more to life than just work.
Yeah. You could have time for your family, your hobbies,
Yeah, your passions, your mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Like your own personal growth. It's like we're redefining what it even means to have a fulfilling career.
It's not just about climbing the corporate ladder anymore. It's about finding meaning and purpose in your work.
Yeah. And the article talks about how this shift is fueling what it calls purpose-driven work.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
What is that?
It's this idea that more and more employees, they want to work for organizations that, align with their values, especially when it comes to things like the environment, social responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not just about the paycheck anymore.
Right. They want to feel like they're making a difference.
Yeah.
Like their work matters.
Exactly. And it seems like companies are starting to get the message right.
Oh, yeah. They're realizing that to attract and keep top talent, they got to offer more than just a salary.
Yeah.
They need to create a work environment that actually reflects those values that their employees care about.
Right. Like a sense of purpose.
Exactly.
So we've talked about how all these trends are affecting us as individuals.
Right, right.
But what about the companies themselves? How are organizations adapting to this whole changing world of work?
Yeah, that's a good question. What are they doing to keep up?
Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges they're facing is how to design those hybrid work environments.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about handing out laptops and saying, hey, use Zoom.
Right.
It's about creating a whole culture that supports both
remote and in-person workers.
Yeah. And making sure that everybody feels connected and engaged.
It's like finding that balance, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is.
I can only imagine that's a really tall order, especially for companies that are so used to having everybody in the same physical space.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge shift.
It is. The article talks about the need for all these new strategies.
Like what?
For building and sustaining a strong company culture.
Yeah.
When people are spread out all over the place, it's about figuring out how to create that sense of community.
Yeah.
Shared purpose.
Right.
Even when you're not, bumping into each other at the water cooler every day.
Yeah, those informal interactions are so important.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's tough to replicate that when everybody's working remotely.
It is. It takes a lot of effort.
It does. And then you've got the, always looming challenge of cybersecurity.
Oh, right, right. That's never going away.
Never going away.
Yeah.
As companies embrace all this new technology, especially those cloud-based systems, they become way more vulnerable. Data breaches, cyber attacks, all that scary stuff.
Yeah, it's like a constant battle.
It is. It's like that game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
The bad guys are always trying to stay one step ahead.
Right. They're always finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities.
And I know I'm always getting those phishing emails, trying to trick me.
Oh, yeah, those are the worst.
They are. It's a good reminder that we all have to play a role in keeping our data safe.
Absolutely. It's everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The article also talks about the challenge of, managing AI in the workplace.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not just about adopting the latest and greatest AI tools.
Right.
It's about figuring out how to use AI, like ethically and responsibly.
Yeah, like there's a human element to this, right?
There is.
It's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah. There are all these questions about like how to create guidelines for using AI so that you get the benefits.
Yeah.
But you're also addressing those ethical concerns, those privacy issues.
Right.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It is.
I'm thinking about things like algorithmic bias,
Oh, yeah.
where AI systems can actually perpetuate like inequalities that already exist.
Yeah, if they're not designed carefully.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the bias is baked into the system.
Yeah. So we have to be really thoughtful about how we integrate AI into our workplaces.
It's not just about the technology, it's about the values that guide how we use it.
Exactly. And then there's the whole, broader societal context.
Oh, right.
We're living in a world that feels like more and more polarized.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, actually.
It is. And the article warns that technology could actually make things worse in the workplace
Oh, how so?
if we're not careful.
Like more division.
Yeah, more division, more conflict. It's like
Right.
it could amplify those existing tensions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a reminder that companies can't just like ignore what's going on in the world.
Yeah, they have to be aware of this social and political climate.
They have to be proactive about creating a culture of, respect, inclusion, and addressing these issues head on.
Yeah, it's not just about being politically correct. It's about creating a workplace where everyone feels safe and valued.
Exactly. And I think that's super important.
It is.
Companies have a responsibility to make sure that everybody feels safe and valued, regardless of, their background, their beliefs, all of that.
Absolutely. It's about creating a workplace where everyone can thrive.
Totally.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot of the challenges, but let's not forget about the opportunities.
Oh, right. There's got to be some good stuff in here, too.
There is.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are you most excited about when you think about like the potential of AI to really transform the workplace?
I think for me, it's the potential for AI to free us from all those like tedious tasks, the ones that just suck the life out of you.
Oh, yeah, like those repetitive things that you just have to do over and over.
Exactly. Imagine if we could just hand those off to like an AI assistant.
Oh, that would be amazing. Right. And then we could actually focus on the work that's engaging.
Yeah, the stuff that uses our like uniquely human skills.
Totally. It could be revolutionary for how we work, more time for creativity, innovation, strategic thinking. But the article doesn't stop there.
Oh.
It goes beyond just the workplace.
Yeah.
It looks at like how AI might impact policymakers and society as a whole.
Okay. That's a whole other level.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's where things get even more complex, more thought-provoking.
Right.
One of the key areas it highlights is the need for new policies and regulations. Like we need to keep up with how fast AI is developing.
So are you saying like our current laws aren't really equipped to deal with this AI revolution?
Yeah. Are we playing catch up here?
It's kind of both, actually. We're seeing this mad dash to update old laws and make new ones that deal with these unique challenges that AI brings up.
Yeah, like what?
Well, for example, copyright laws are being totally re-examined.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
To figure out like who owns the rights to stuff created by AI.
Right. Like if I ask an AI to write me a song, who owns the copyright? Me. The AI.
Right. It's a tricky one.
It is. And that's a question courts are actually trying to answer right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's not just copyright. There's a lot of concern about using facial recognition technology, how it could be misused. People are calling for stricter rules, even outright bans in some places.
It's a good reminder that technology, it's not good or bad on its own. It's all about how we use it.
Right. We have to be responsible.
Totally. And as AI gets more and more powerful, we have to be super careful about how we regulate it, how we use it.
Yeah.
So we can prevent those like unintended consequences.
Like we don't want to create problems we didn't even see coming.
Right. Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of regulatory uncertainty. Like the article dives into that too.
Oh, yeah. Like trying to keep up with all the changes.
Yeah. In a world where tech is moving so fast, it's tough for policymakers to keep pace.
It's like trying to hit a moving target.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that creates a ton of headaches for businesses who are trying to navigate this like constantly shifting landscape.
Especially when it comes to things like environmental and social policies. The article specifically talks about how, political polarization.
Oh, right.
Especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's making things really unpredictable for businesses.
Okay. So 1 minute the rules are this way, and then the next minute they're that way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, how can you plan for the future when you don't even know what the rules are going to be?
Exactly. It's like impossible to keep up.
It is. It really emphasizes how important it is for businesses to be flexible.
Yeah.
To adapt quickly.
Yeah, agile.
Yeah. The companies that can pivot quickly and roll with the punches, those are the ones that are going to make it.
Right. It's like Darwin's theory of evolution, but for businesses.
Survival of the fittest.
Only the most adaptable survive. The article also brings up something we don't always think about when we talk about AI and technology, like in general.
Oh, what's that?
The environmental cost.
Oh, right.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new gadgets and AI-powered innovation.
Shiny new toys.
Yeah. But we have to consider the impact on the planet.
Yeah, like what's the environmental footprint of all this?
Exactly. The article talks about the environmental effects of things like mining for rare earth minerals.
Oh, right, for the batteries and stuff.
For the batteries, yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy amount of energy it takes to train AI systems.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is. It's a reminder that sustainability needs to be part of the conversation.
From the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like right from the start.
Like we can't just assume that progress is always good for the environment.
Exactly. We have to ask those tough questions, like about the footprint of these technologies and find ways to make them more sustainable.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Speaking of tough questions, the article, it doesn't shy away from the potential negative impacts of AI on human rights.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds serious.
Yeah, it is.
What kind of concerns are they talking about?
Well, there's this UN report that says AI could be used to spread, like, misinformation, incite violence.
Oh, wow.
Even create those harmful deepfakes.
Right.
And this could especially target vulnerable groups, like women and children.
Oh, wow. That's really disturbing.
Yeah. It's like the dark side of AI. We always see those sci-fi movies where AI turns against us.
Right.
But the article suggests that the real threat might be more, like, subtle, under the radar.
It's not necessarily the robots taking over.
Right.
It's more about how AI can be used to manipulate people.
Control them, even exploit them.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to detect.
Oh, wow. That's scary. So what can we do about it? Are we just, like, powerless against all this?
Not at all. Actually, the article is pretty optimistic on that front.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It says that we are not just passive bystanders in this whole tech revolution.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, we have agency.
Yeah.
We can actually shape how AI develops and how it's used.
Okay, so we're not just along for the ride.
Nope. One of the key ideas the article talks about is employee agency.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not just about workers adapting to AI, it's about them actually shaping how AI is used in their workplaces.
So it's about, like, pushing back against those dystopian scenarios.
Right.
And creating a future where AI actually works for us.
Yeah.
Not against us.
Exactly. And the article gives some really cool examples of how workers are already doing this.
Like what?
Well, they're resisting the implementation of AI systems that they think are unfair or intrusive, Yeah. And they're finding creative ways to use AI to actually boost their own skills and productivity.
It's about taking control of the technology.
Right.
Making it work for you instead of the other way around.
Totally. And it's not just about individual workers either. The article also talks about how important it is for organizations to adapt.
Right.
Like, companies have to be proactive. They have to anticipate how AI is going to impact their industry and develop strategies to survive and thrive in this new environment.
So be agile, be innovative, maybe even be a little disruptive. Right.
Exactly. The article points to companies that are trying out new business models, new ways of organizing themselves, new ways of working, just to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like they're writing the rule book as they go along.
Yeah.
Figuring out what works, what doesn't.
And the article says that this kind of experimentation is crucial. There's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
Right.
Every company needs to find its own path, Yeah.
It's a bit like the Wild West out there, right?
It is a lot of uncharted territory, and there are going to be some bumps along the way.
For sure.
But it's also a really exciting time. Like, we're literally watching a tech revolution unfold. And it has the potential to change our world in some really big ways.
And the article suggests that we all have a role to play in shaping that future.
Absolutely. It's not just about the big tech companies or the government. It's about all of us making informed choices.
About how we use AI in our lives.
Yeah. And that brings us to another really important concept that the article discusses, sense making.
Oh, interesting.
It's about how people make sense of these new technologies, how they understand what they mean, and how those interpretations shape how they respond, how they behave.
So it's like we're all trying to figure out what this AI revolution means for us.
Yeah.
Both individually and as a society.
Exactly. And the article says that this whole sense-making process is crucial.
Oh, why is that?
It's how we develop like a shared understanding of what AI means for us,
You're right.
the challenges, the opportunities, and how we can work together to create a future that benefits everybody.
Yeah, it's not about one person or one group dictating what the future should look like.
Right. The article also talks about this concept called boundary work, which sounds kind of abstract. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. Boundary work is basically how professionals and organizations figure out and redefine the limits of their work as technology changes.
Like, think about it. AI is blurring the lines between different job roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
Things that humans used to do are now being done by machines. And that forces us to rethink what it means to be a professional in a specific field.
So are you saying our job descriptions are becoming, like, obsolete?
In some cases, yeah. But it's not just about job titles. It's about the skills and knowledge that define a profession. The article says that professionals need to be really proactive, adapting their expertise to this changing world. They need to find ways to use AI to make their work better, to make themselves better, instead of being replaced by it.
It's like we need to become AI whisperers, right?
Yeah, like learning how to communicate with these intelligent systems to train them to do what we need them to do.
Right. And the article gives some really interesting examples of how professionals are actually doing this in all sorts of fields.
Oh, I'd love to hear about those.
Okay, so one study focused on freelancers and how they see those algorithmic rating systems.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those systems that basically decide who gets the gigs and how much they get paid.
Like on Upwork or Fiverr.
Exactly. And I can imagine that creates a lot of anxiety
Oh, yeah.
for freelancers who are trying to, like, make a living.
Totally. It's like your whole livelihood depends on these algorithms.
Yeah. And what the study found was really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
At first, freelancers who were new to those platforms, they saw those rating systems as a barrier.
Oh, like a threat.
A threat, yeah. Like, they didn't have any ratings yet, so they felt like they were at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, like you're starting a new video game with no experience points.
Exactly.
You're at the bottom of the leaderboard, and it feels impossible to catch up.
Yeah. But as these freelancers got more experience, got more positive reviews, things changed.
Oh, how so?
They started to see that rating system as an opportunity,
Okay.
a way to build their reputation, attract more clients.
Yeah.
They learned how to, like, work the system.
Game the system.
Game the system, yeah. By optimizing their profiles, delivering great work,
Yeah.
and getting that positive feedback.
So they went from feeling threatened by the algorithm to actually using it to their advantage.
Totally. It shows that how we think about technology isn't fixed. It changes as we interact with it, as we learn how it works.
Right, it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it highlights how important digital literacy is in this age of AI.
Oh, for sure. Like, understanding how the technology works is key.
It's like learning a new language. Once you get the grammar and syntax down,
Yeah.
you can start to express yourself more fluently. Another study looked at how professionals in, like, those more traditional fields like accounting and law, they're adapting to AI. And what they found was that these professionals are using a bunch of different strategies to, like, defend their expertise
Oh, interesting.
and their roles in the face of automation.
So they're not just giving up and letting AI take over.
No. They're pushing back. They're finding ways to carve out their own space in this new landscape.
Okay, I like that. So what kind of strategies are we talking about?
Well, some of them included, like, really clearly defining what their work is, emphasizing the parts of their expertise that AI can't replicate,
Right.
and then also finding ways to collaborate with tech experts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but to leverage AI in a way that actually enhances their own skills and knowledge.
So it's like they're saying, okay, AI can do this, but it can't do that.
Exactly.
We're drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah, staking their claim on those tasks that really require, uniquely human skills, human judgment. And the article suggests that this is a really smart move. Instead of trying to compete with AI on its own terms, these professionals are finding ways to set themselves apart.
Right. They're playing to their strengths.
Totally. And using AI to their advantage.
It's like that old saying, if you can't beat them, join them.
Right. Or maybe in this case, it's more like, if you can't beat them, find a way to work with them.
Aha, I like that.
Another study looked at how auditing firms are adapting to digitalization. What they found was that these firms are going through this process that they called creative accumulation.
Creative accumulation? That sounds kind of like an oxymoron.
Right. How can something be both creative and accumulative?
Yeah, explain that one.
It's a cool concept, really. It's about how these firms are constantly learning new skills, spreading those skills throughout the organization, and figuring out how to integrate technology into their existing practices.
So it's not just about putting the newest AI software and hoping for the best.
Nope. It's way more holistic than that. It's about making a really thoughtful approach to how they use technology.
Right. It's about adapting to the changing landscape.
Exactly. And it's not just about learning technical skills either. The study found that these firms are also coming up with new ways of thinking, new ways of working, new organizational structures, even new business models.
Wow, that's a lot of change.
It is. It's like they're transforming their whole culture to be more agile, more innovative, more data-driven.
Yeah, like they're embracing the digital age fully.
Totally. And the article suggests that this kind of transformation is essential for any organization that wants to succeed in the age of AI. Like, it's not enough to just add some AI tools to what you're already doing. You have to rethink your whole approach to work.
That's pretty big. It's got to be daunting for some companies.
Yeah, especially for those that have been doing things the same way for decades.
Yeah.
But the article also talks about the potential rewards of this kind of change.
No, like what?
Companies that really embrace AI and adapt their operations, they can become more efficient, more competitive, and more innovative.
It's like they're unlocking a whole new level of potential.
Exactly. Okay, there was also this really interesting conceptual piece in the article.
Okay.
It explored the idea of relational expertise as like a defense against AI.
Relational expertise. Okay, I've never heard that term before. What does that mean?
It's this idea that expertise isn't just about what you know. It's about how you apply that knowledge and share it within a network of relationships.
Oh, so it's about the human element of expertise.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about those social and collaborative aspects that are so hard for AI to replicate. And the authors argue that this relational expertise is something that professionals can really cultivate and use to stay ahead of the curve in this age of AI.
So it's like doubling down on those uniquely human skills that AI can't replace.
Totally. Like things like empathy, communication, building trust with others.
Yeah.
There was another study that I wanted to mention. It was about how radiologists and radiographers in the UK are understanding and responding to AI.
Okay.
And how their responses are influenced by their roles within the organization.
So different groups of professionals are reacting to AI differently.
It seems that way. The study found that frontline professionals, those who are directly interacting with patients and using AI in their daily work, they tend to see AI as a threat.
Probably because they're worried about losing their jobs, right?
Possibly. But then you have the managers and institutional leaders, those who are more focused on the bigger picture. They tend to see AI as an opportunity.
An opportunity for
efficiency, for improved service delivery, even for professional development.
So their perspective on AI is shaped by their position in the organization.
Exactly. And it just highlights how important it is to understand how different people are experiencing these technological changes.
Right. Everyone has their own perspective. There was another study that I found really interesting. It talked about the link between AI-driven disruptions in the workplace and employee vulnerability.
Yeah, that one was fascinating.
Yeah.
It focused on the emotional impact of AI and how even small disruptions can make employees feel really vulnerable.
Right. It's that feeling of uncertainty, of insecurity when the technology you rely on starts to change.
Totally. And the study found that those feelings of vulnerability can actually damage trust in the organization.
Oh, wow.
Which can then have a ripple effect on morale and productivity.
So it's not just about the technical side of AI, it's about the human impact.
Right. And the authors argue that organizations need to be proactive in building trust, providing support, and being transparent about how AI is being used.
Yeah, like you can't just throw AI into the mix and expect everyone to be okay with it.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of psychological safety.
Where employees feel valued and supported, even as the tech around them is changing.
Now, there was one final conceptual article that I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
It presented a really interesting framework for how organizations can adapt to the age of AI.
Oh, I'd love to hear about that. What's the framework called?
It's called pace layering.
Case layering. Okay, that's a new one.
It's based on this idea that organizations are made up of different layers of processes, and those processes change at different speeds.
So some things are more dynamic than others.
Right. And the authors argue that AI is going to impact these different layers at different rates, which is going to create some real challenges for keeping everything coordinated and in sync.
It's like trying to keep all the gears turning smoothly when some of them are spinning faster than others.
Exactly. And they suggest that organizations need to come up with new strategies for managing this complexity, focusing on making sure things are aligned between the different pace layers.
So it's a pretty nuanced way of looking at how AI is going to change organizations.
It's a really insightful framework, and it highlights the need for organizations to think about how AI will impact all parts of their operations.
Yeah, you got to look at the big picture.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From those big trends shaping the future of work to what it all means for individuals, companies, and society.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
Given everything we've talked about, what steps can you take to prepare for the future of work in your field?
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. Like, what skills will you need? What mindsets will you need to develop?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
It is. And the answer is going to be different for everybody.
Right, everyone's journey is unique.
But I think this deep dive has given us some pretty valuable clues, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's about being proactive, being adaptable, embracing that lifelong learning. It's about being mindful of those ethical implications of new technologies and using our voices to shape how they're developed and used.
And it's about staying curious.
Yes.
Asking questions, being open to new possibilities.
Totally. Like, the future of work isn't set in stone.
Right?
It's something we're all creating together, day by day, choice by choice.
Well said. I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for having me on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has been. Thanks for joining me. To our listeners, I hope this has given you some new ideas.
Yeah.
And maybe inspired you to think differently about what's ahead, the possibilities, the challenges, all of it.
It's a brave new world out there.
It is. So keep learning, keep adapting, and keep shaping the future of work.
Absolutely. Yeah, lots to think about. It really shows how complex all this is. It's not just about the technology, it's about us, people, and how we decide to use these powerful tools.
And speaking of choices, one thing that really hit me while I was reading this article was the potential for unintended consequences. Things we might not even be thinking about right now.
Oh, yeah. Like those ripple effects?
Exactly. Like you throw a pebble in a pond and the waves just
go everywhere.
Yeah, they go everywhere. You can't predict it.
Nope.
So the article talks a lot about how AI is going to disrupt professional and knowledge work. But what about skilled trades? Craftsmanship.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more.
Well, we've been saying how AI could automate a lot of tasks.
Right.
And potentially, displace workers. But what if it actually creates more demand for those hands-on skills that are hard to automate or even impossible to automate?
I see what you're saying. Like, as AI takes over those more routine jobs, could we actually see people getting more interested in things like carpentry, plumbing, even art?
Exactly. Think about it. If AI can make certain types of knowledge work more efficient, it could free up time and resources for people to pursue their passions.
Yeah.
Develop those hands-on skills.
There's already this trend toward handcrafted goods and artisanal products, right? People want that authenticity, that human touch.
Yeah.
In a world that feels increasingly digital, automated. Could AI actually accelerate that trend?
It's a really cool thought. Maybe AI won't just change the professional world.
Right.
Maybe it'll lead to a rediscovery of craftsmanship and those tangible skills, the ones that connect us to the physical world.
Yeah, like a counter movement to the rise of AI and those white-collar jobs.
Totally. it's exciting to think about how all these different forces could interact
Right.
and shape the future in ways that we can't even imagine right now.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Those big trends shaping the future of work, the potential consequences for us, for organizations, for society.
It's a lot to process.
It is a lot. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, let's hear it.
Given everything we've talked about today, what steps can you take to get ready for the future of work in your own field? Like, what skills do you need to develop? What mindsets do you need to cultivate?
That's the question, isn't it? And like we said before, the answer is going to be different for everyone.
Totally. But I think this deep dive has given us some good clues.
For sure.
It's about being proactive, adaptable, and embracing lifelong learning. It's about being aware of the ethical implications of all this new technology
Yeah.
and using our voices to help shape how it's developed and used.
And it's about staying curious, like you said before, asking questions, being open to new possibilities.
Yes.
Like, the future isn't fixed. We're all creating it together.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the future of work. I hope this sparked some new ideas for you
Me too.
and got you thinking differently about all the possibilities and the challenges that are ahead.
It's been a blast exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep shaping the future of work.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to subscribe to Revise and Resubmit on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for more captivating deep dives like this one. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us in creating more insightful content, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Every contribution helps us continue this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep questioning, and keep revising and resubmitting.